Alright guys, welcome back to Shire Shenanigans. I'm Nicole, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm gonna start this video off with a video tour of my yarn stash that I've put all together. This is kind of spread all over my house. I think there's actually, no, I know there's still some that's not here, because it's things that I've put up into project bags, because they're things I'm going to do, and we'll have a separate video going through those because I'm not going to dig them out right now. But alright, let's get this started, and after this, when we sit down to kind of chat about what we're doing here today, I'll open up all the tubs to kind of show you what's going on. So let's go. Alright, so you guys just saw my yarn stash, and as I am filming this, I am looking at a drawer behind you guys that I know has two drawers, actually, now that I'm really looking at it, two drawers that have more yarn in them. And I think a couple of the cabinets back here might also have yarn in them, and there's a bag over there that has yarn in it. Okay, so you're kind of getting the gist of why this is needed. So I am planning a 2025 at least yarn stash down, and what that means, a stash down is not the same as a de-stash. So I'm not planning to really get rid of all of this, not like give it away or sell it. This is so that I sit down, focus, that's the key here, and actually going to be the hardest part, and part of why we're doing this as a video series, so that we can be accountability buddies if you guys want to join in. Focus on using the yarn. So you don't buy stuff usually with the idea of just putting it in a tub and leaving it there forever. That's not why we buy things. We buy things because they make us happy. And sometimes, I'll just say sometimes, sometimes we have a plan for them when we buy them, but then we get home and we get busy and we set it down, and then the stash eats it. and then it's gone, and you forget about what the project is when you find the yarn, and then you're like, well, what do I do with this? and it stays eaten by the stash. And that's not what we want. But that is exactly what happened to me. So, backstory. I've been doing fiber arts, so like crochet, knitting, that kind of stuff, since I was 10 at least. My mom taught me how to make a granny square, and I made a couple granny square blankets, and I kind of lost interest for a while. I took a knitting class as a teenager and sort of learned how to knit from a very strict, I'll just say she was strict, elderly German woman, and it was fun for a while, and then I kind of lost interest. And then in college, I needed something to do that wasn't college. And I turned back to crocheting and jumped headfirst into YouTube tutorials and blogs, because blogs were a thing back then. And I eventually got onto Instagram. I was actually kind of late to Instagram. I had a coworker tell me about it, and I was like, what is this? And well, that's history. That eats up, I think that's the number 2 used app on my phone. Yeah, so I jumped headfirst into that and was like, okay, yeah, crochet is really cool. This is great. Made a couple of things, and then as you do with a hobby, you get people that are like, hey, you could sell this. And that is, I hate that, actually. Nowadays, I'm never going to tell you guys to turn your hobby into a hustle. It is honestly the worst thing you can do, I think, unless you are actually driven and have an idea and a plan and the time to do that. Because once you turn your hobby into a hustle, you've now turned your joy into a job. And that's not what we want. But that is what happened to me. And we're about to have a really cute visitor. You want to say hi, Toru? It's Toru. She's our assistant. She's pretty good at sleeping on the yarn. She sounds like dog food. Anyway, so that's what happened to me. I had people tell me that, oh, you should sell your stuff. This is great. And so I started an Etsy. I did actually a lot of research. I was a senior in college at the time. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was actually in several entrepreneurship classes, so I was kind of able to turn that into like class projects, which was great. And I had a whole plan lined out. I even met with professors about it. They're like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And I launched it. I did. Not in college. Actually, I did it August of 2016 was when my Etsy store went live. And that was great. I had several listings. I don't know if I was really ready to start at that point. I was still working full time. I was fresh out of college. I just moved in with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. And it was more of a side hustle than anything else. And honestly, you have to have the right mentality for something like that. And I don't think I really did. And so it launched. I sold a couple of things to friends. It was okay. But I bought a lot of yarn, thinking it was going to be better. And then fast forward, I bought more yarn and more yarn and more yarn. And my Etsy store didn't kick off. And I did eventually change to making amigurumis, so plushies, and that did better. And I got really into looking at amigurumi patterns and all of the yarns for it, and there were so many new yarns coming out. And then I got into knitting, which required different yarn to make things like garments, which I still can't make because I'm not a very good knitter. But I have all of this really beautiful fancy hand-dyed yarn, which I love fancy hand-dyed yarn, and it is priced lower probably than it should be, considering the amount of work that goes into it, but it is not cheap. And it just sits there and it looks pretty. But that's a whole different side of this we're going to talk about. Bottom line, so I moved into amigurumi. I bought a whole bunch more yarn. And it did kick off a bit, and I did a couple markets, and I do Comic-Con and all of that. However, then I got pregnant, and which was on purpose. It was on purpose. And I have the coolest 2-year-old in the world. However, he really loves mommy, which is a good thing, but it's not a good thing for the amount of time that I get to myself to do anything. And then my joy, my hobby, was no longer a hobby anymore. It was a hustle. And so I wasn't making the things that I wanted to make. I was making things that I thought would sell. And I was burning out. And where we're sitting right now on August 31st, 2024, I'm very burnt out of the fiber arts. My last show was Comic-Con 2024, Lilac City Comic-Con in Spokane. It was good. It was a much slower show, which I think was a good thing for me, because it helped solidify the fact that I can take a break. And so I won't be doing any shows this year. We will instead be making a bunch of stuff, and maybe I will do a show next year, and maybe not. We'll see. But that's going to be a different video down the line. Right now we're sitting in Burnout Town, and we're trying to get our joy back. And in doing that, we're going to do the stash down. So the idea here is that as I work through projects that I had planned and I had joy in at the time, I'm hoping that that is going to help me recapture my joy of crocheting and knitting. And it would be really cool to actually knit my first sweater. That's kind of like that's the big goal. I don't know if we're gonna get there because that's scary. 2 needles is much scarier than 1 hook, but people do it, and I can do it too. I just need to try. And you guys will be there for it. So the idea, if you see me looking down, it's because I've got notes. My son totally scribbled on them, but I can still kind of read them. So this stash down starts tomorrow, September 1st, which will probably be the day that this goes up. I am recording it on August 31st, if that helps. So the idea is we're going to start, if you want to keep up with this with me, you're totally welcome to. If you just want to watch and be like, wow, look at all that cool stuff, look at all that yarn, that's fine too. So what I'm doing, I have a new journal. I really like this brand. I actually got these from Amazon. I use a purple one as my logbook for diamond painting. It's a dotted notebook, pretty small. It's got 160 pages. It lays flat. It sticks in most of my, I have book sleeves that I'll travel with things in to keep them safe, and it actually, the cover really holds stickers well. And I have a couple fiber related stickers that I'm going to put on it as like a, yeah. And so we're going to use this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record all of the yarn that's used. So I am not going to record everything that we're starting with. There's too much. I tried and just, it was very overwhelming. Perhaps if I didn't have a 2-year-old who really wanted to help with everything in his adorable, not helpful way, I could record everything, but there's too much. There's too much yarn. And so what we're going to do is we're going to record everything that we use. And so what that means is we're going to record what the yarn company is, what the yarn weight was, the color of it, and like the name of the colorway. how many grams or ounces, yards or meters that we used, what project it was used in, and then at the end I'm going to share my thoughts on the yarn itself, the product it was used in, whether or not I would buy it again, those kinds of things. And we're going to do all of that in the journal. So that way we can start tallying up what we've used, and then the idea is that at the end of the year, so September 1st, 2025, we can look back and be like, okay, we used this much. Maybe we'll be able to calculate what's left. I am not a fast stitcher, and like I said, I don't actually have a whole lot of time where I'm able to craft. So I'm not actually going to make an estimate of how much of this we're going to get through. I'm hoping to use at least this whole wall behind me and empty out at least 2 or 3 of these tubs over here. That's my minimum goal. And I want to, it's going to be in a separate video, but there are 2 shelves of a bookshelf out in my living room that have probably 22 project bags that are kitted up with the yarn for those projects, of ones that I've planned last year, I think, actually, back when I first tried to get this stash under control. And I would like to get through some of those, which we'll go over, I promise. There's some really cool stuff over there. And so that's what we're gonna do. That's kind of our layout of this stash down. And I think we can do it. I really do. I am going to stop the talking part here because my son woke up, but I am going to attach a video after this where we're going to kind of look closer at the yarn. Okay, so it's the next day, by the way. Sorry about that. My son had a day yesterday. So let's see about going through some of this yarn. I've got, you guys are actually pretty close to my face. I am using my neck mount, so if it's a little shaky, I am sorry about that, but this seemed like the easiest way to do this. So let's kind of go through. So we've got that up there. That's going to be Premier, let's see, I always forget the name. Premier Chunky. I have a lot of this. It's really good for amigurumi. We have a lot of the bigger Premier and the loops and threads up here. I use those for bigger amigurumi. I don't have a lot of plans for some of these. I actually bought these ones to make like chickens with. This will probably become another ditto. I think this was supposed to be a drift bloom. We'll see. We've got all these. There's some hiding back here behind the diamond paintings. I did have plans for those, but I don't remember off the top of my head. This was supposed to be a guinea pig, but I think it's too big. I've got down there is going to be that tan. I've got a bunch of those to make a giant appa. And then we've got these. This is actually part to make a blanket, a mosaic crocheted blanket. All of this purple was to make giant spiders. This blue is for a lapras. This was to make chicken nuggets. This was to make a 9-tailed fox from Naruto. I don't actually quite remember. This I can probably make more tiny frogs out of. It's kind of, a lot of this I might not actually open right now, but we'll kind of go through a little bit so you guys can get more of a closer up and an idea of what we're looking at here. I've got a bunch of velvet yarn in here. This I actually bought to make Jawas with. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I bought it because it's soft. We got some more down here. I used that orange speckle to make a jellyfish once. This stuff down here in the tubs is actually cricket supplies, which we're not talking about that today. This is all, well, a lot of my blue yarn. All of that white I bought to make like moogles and stuff. That's a mess. There's a lot of a mess. There's a lot of blue in here. A lot of this I bought to make turtle blankets with back in the day. These I made bees with, and I might make some more bees. That stuff back there I bought because it sparkles. This has a lot of fancy yarn in it. I bought because my friend owns a yarn store. Let's see. There's some more bee yarn right there. That's a whip we talked about last time. This is actually a Harry Potter yarn advent from last year. So it's 24 mini skeins and then 1 100-gram skein. I might make a blanket with it. I've actually got an advent pattern. This is all scrap yarn for the most part. So I gotta kind of figure out a scrappy project to make. So in these tubs, a lot of these tubs is going to be extra yarn that I actually took out of the cubbies to make more room for other stuff. So it was yarn I didn't really have a plan for. It's a lot of like cake yarn, specialty yarns, things like that. There are plans for it. I just have to remember what they were. But yeah, so that's kind of a closer up of what we're looking at. I am going to release the next video in the series is going to be more of a planning video for like, hey, what the heck are we actually going to do with all this stuff? And we'll kind of go through some of my patterns. Oh, that up there actually has yarn in it too. Oops. Oh, and I did tell you guys I had drawers that had yarn in it. But I had forgotten. So that's these. Those are diamond paintings. They're everywhere too. So this drawer is all yarn for a blanket. Nope. This one? Yep. This is a bunch of yarn that I bought to make a dragon for my son, and I probably still will. He likes to throw these around because they're really cute and soft. I think that's all the hidden yarn. Oh, that up there is another yarn advent. I got that 2 years ago. That I am going to make a blanket for Ren with because we opened that yarn advent together. And so it's kind of special. Yeah, and this is all just kind of random yarn. Some of that I do have a plan for. Most of it I don't. And I need to figure out what I'm doing with those granny squares. It was for a blanket, but I'm not going to finish that blanket, so I might tear those out. We might have a frog or keep party, actually. On one of the videos. Yeah. So thanks for watching this kickoff video, and if you guys are looking to join this Stashdown journey with me, I would love it if you let me know in the comments below if you want to participate with me. Let me know what you're starting with and what your plans are, and we'll do this together. And if you want to keep up on this journey, you subscribe and hit the bell icon. YouTube will let you know when I put up more of these videos, and any video in general, actually. And we'll do a check-in again on October 1st, and I'll post about this on my Instagram, which that link is going to be in the description box below also. And I will see you guys next time.